Hi, I'm Wayne, and I'm a bass player.
Hi, Wayne!
The reason why I'm here tonight is because Jim's first choice couldn't make it. Jim's second choice couldn't make it. I'm his third choice, and here I am. Back in 2008, when I came in to audition for Pump Poison Dinette, thank you. No, that fellow castmates. There you go, fellow castmates. Jim says to me, "So, can you play?" "Yeah, I can play." "That's good, because I've already lost 2 bass players, so my back's kind of up against the wall." I should have known something at that point in time. Why I didn't run, I'll never know. But here you are. You know, it's now 2015, and you're still stuck with me. I don't have anything prepared tonight. I'm just winging it because I know how much Jim loves that. Don't you? That's right. But, so I've been here for a while. Jim has, he's imparted a lot of knowledge to me, a few things. So I pick up on some stuff that all you guys that were students of Jim, well, you had to pay for it. I'm paying for it too, just in a different way. But to be fair, I've taught Jim a few things. I taught him how to screw. I've taught him that, that sometimes you need to pre-drill a hole so that you can screw better. He has this bad habit of splitting wood when we build sets. And so I made him open up his wallet a little bit bigger and spend some more money on screws that don't split wood. There's a difference between gold screws and black phosphorus screws.
Yes.
And he's learned that, so he can also be taught. Jill, is he any better?
A little bit.
Okay. The other things that I've kind of taught him is that, we can recycle a few things. I've tried to save him money so that Jill doesn't beat him up. She's very happy that I've been able to do that, but yeah. In all honesty though, Jim, I have learned a lot from you. I've learned a lot from the people that I've been on stage with that have had you for directors before. And it's a very tight-knit group, and I'm very fortunate to be part of that. And thank you very much for that. I was reading something the other day about a director, and somebody was saying that, a director is somebody that needs to have a little bit of knowledge about everything. Whether it's, small town, big town, country, farms, mines, the ocean, everything. And now that you're retired, hopefully you'll find some of that. Anyway. People, this man knows a lot of things. If you have never had the chance to sit and talk with him about a few things, please do. I think you'll be surprised. And I can say that from the heart because Jim and I have spent many a long hour right here on this stage, sometimes painting squares, sometimes doing the squares all by myself, across the whole stage. And then afterwards he comes in and says, I'm not sure I like that color. But my favorite was, I think we should make the stage bigger. What do you think? So I look at him and said, no, Jill will hurt you. She'll lose 2 more tables. Anyway, happy retirement. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Well, there are several secrets to giving a good speech. That was not one of them. In fairness, Wayne was not one of Jim's students either, so don't hold it against him. Before we go any further tonight, I want to say a special thank you to somebody. This night has been a wonderful night, and everyone here who's is proud to be a part of it in some way or another. The dinner was fantastic. The wine and drinks were on point, and the conversation and the people are second to none. And the one person that we have to thank for that is you, Jill. So much time, not only in communication with all of us, but making sure that the meal was prepared right, making sure that all the details went right. Every single one of the songs that you heard on that pre-show music was not some of your old retreaded crap that you throw in every other one of your dinner theater shows. They actually had something to do with work, retirement, longevity, life, some form of working into what we're doing tonight, and she picked all that stuff up. Now, she made me do all the work and download them, but she at least did that. So thanks again, Jill. This is a fantastic night. We are all very happy with us. We should all be thankful that it's Jim that's retiring and not Jill. Yes. Seriously, because if it were the other way around, we'd all be crammed in their garage right now and canned beer and paper plates. Probably eating something that Amy Felberg had thrown together in 20 minutes with leftovers on her agenda from the same way off Broadway dinner theater kitchen. Doing all right? Welcome to every cast party we've ever had. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You're a wonderful band, Jim, and anybody who knows you knows that you are cheap. Recently headed up the group that actually designed and built our green room, our new green room downstairs, and getting Jim to relinquish the Menards card was like him giving up a lung. Or both. Seriously. And every day he decided to come back down and check the progress and goes, how much is this costing? Table scraps. Speaking of dogs, he's such a tight ass that only dogs can hear it when he farts. I overheard somebody say around here while we're mingling around that he's got rubber pockets so he can steal soup. Which incidentally is how I heard that you fed the actors at door off Broadway. So. He's not really cheap, he's just saving for a rainy century. At least you're saving money on shampoo. Although sometimes he does try to overcompensate by combing over his back hair. That's gross, you don't want to hear about that. He's so cheap, you won't even pay attention. Come on, Jim, I'm right here. Look at me. Well, our next roaster is anything but cheap. In fact, so far to this point, she's cost me everything that I have. No, wait, shh, don't tell her that. I mean, last night I found out that one of our credit cards was stolen. But I didn't report it because they're spending less than you do. No, in all seriousness, I'm incredibly lucky to have met this wonderful woman who I met right here on this very stage and would not have met without Jim and Jill. So, thank you. And putting all this together, and now that we're getting married in 3 months, we've been reminiscing a lot. And 2 nights ago, we started talking about, I asked you, what was it? God, I can't even figure out. I've never, ever fallen as hard as I have for somebody as I fell for you. So what was it that you did? And she looked at me and said, well, honey, it's really simple. And she goes, well, I looked at you and our future like I look at you when you lay flooring tiles. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? She goes, if you lay them right the first time, you can walk all over them for the rest of your life. In fairness, I wrote that joke the other way around, but since I'm not married to her yet, I thought it was better to go that way. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rita Wilson.
Hey, thank you. This is really pretty, so I'm going to wear it tonight, but let's talk later about it. Hi, everyone. I just want to take a quick second and thank you all for coming out tonight. I was worried you might have forgotten. I don't think Jill sent out enough untitled email or Facebook reminders. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lydia Olson. I'm an actor and artist from the Twin Cities. I graduated in 2 years at the age of 20 with a bachelor's degree in theater from Bethel University with an emphasis in acting and directing. I've been in a dozen or more shows in Minneapolis and St. Paul within the last 6 years, built and taught 2 youth programs, choreographed multiple shows with Stage Combat, choreographed, directed for all of my university and post-university careers, and I've worked solely here for the last 3 as an actor, singer, dancer, choreographer, and costumer. And I'm marrying Jim's golden boy over there, so everything I told you means nothing.
Haven't read each other's shit, so.
Now, before I get started, I've asked Iris to record this, so you do have the camera, right? Yeah. And the battery? Yeah. And the memory card? Yeah. So, Jim, before our next photo call, just check in with Iris for a crash course on being a professional and coming prepared. Okay?
6 photo calls and it's your...
It's great spirit, right? Now, as most of us in this room know, Jim can be a very challenging director. Most times, morning time, noon time, every night of the week time. And while I didn't attend UWRF or have him as a professor, I have worked with him on 6 shows in the last 3 years. So, this might not be as long as my other half, double-decade Joe Keith. Oh! You're old. But it is long enough to know how Jim works pretty well, so I've worked up a beginner's guide to Jim Zim, and I'm hoping to include it in the new actor packet for all future shows. Jill, I'm just going to get it printed, and I'll give you my receipt. You can just reimburse me when I get I would welcome any additional comments from any of you, so if you look on your table, you'll find a comment card. Please leave your comments in the clear stand with the hostess stand on your right. Now, first of all, it's important to remember that Jim isn't as young as he once was, so don't expect him to be up to date on all the newfangled stuff, like phones or cameras. Again, Jim, battery, memory card, got it? Okay. You want me to take a minute so you can write this down? This isn't for me, it's for you. He will also use phrases that have become out of date in the most recent days, like the days of sock hop and stickball, like sock hop and stickball. Blow smoke up their skirt also comes to mind. I have seen many a new actor nod in complete understanding of that phrase, and their eyes read total confusion. In the translation portion of the beginner's guide, you'll find a comprehensive list of modern, interchangeable phrases for Jim's go-to terminology. For instance, fakaka. It's not a noun. I mean, I know it sounds like a Middle Eastern stew of like rabbit loins and limp cabbage, but it's actually an adjective Jim used to describe something he's displeased with. I can't believe how fakaka this script is. The choreography during the finale was all fakaka. Which brings me to my second point, choreography. Now, I use this term generously and in its most generic sense. The timed movement you see on this stage has been appropriately dubbed choreography by those of us lucky enough to experience it. Now, I've heard tell that Jim is actually a fairly gifted dancer, but I think Jerome Robbins, even the mastermind behind Hokey Pokey, would be a little, aghast at the thought of Jim's choreography being considered the same art form as theirs. Now, guys, don't get me wrong, I love the occasional jazz square, but
Step, point, you're out, safe side.
It's a little too home plate umpire for me. And forward, back. It's not even a challenge for a cross-eyed, one-legged toddler who's subject to frequent bouts of vertigo. Although, Wayne and Greg did have a little trouble with it during this lecture. Now, this isn't to say that Jim Zim isn't going to expect the simplest of steps to flow out of you with all of the confidence and gusto you can muster. I mean, even when it doesn't make sense. After all, it worked in his bedroom. So with unrestrained zeal, he'll join you during rehearsals, moving with you like a contorted funhouse mirror image reflected back at you. And that's if you're doing it well. I'm not sure which side is more Jim-like. Enthusiastically paralleling his own choreography, well, with more gusto than a kid in the ticket blaster at Chuck E. Cheese, or melodramatically retreating out the back door of the theater with his hands in the air.
Amen!
There's no sight quite as frustrating or eye-roll inducing as that. You're not really sure if you should be insulted or relieved. I tend to lean towards relieved. Now, I have no shame in informing everyone that I nearly did not come back to St. Croix off-Broadway. In fact, after my first show, Going, which was a Category 5 failure as far as cast interaction goes, I was determined to avoid this place like the plague. When Jim asked me to be in Righteous, I put off agreeing for over a month to be cast in literally any other show. I think I auditioned for over 20 shows in a month just to not have to be here. And wouldn't you know it, in the most epic failure of my newly blossoming career, nobody wanted me. Was it meant to be? Now I like to think so, but at the time my actor pride was wounded, and more painful and nerve-wracking than that was the fact that I had no reason to say no to Jim. And because I wasn't yet adult and confident in myself, I had no reason to say, no, I don't really want to. So, in one of the many emails I would reply to Jill in the coming years, I said yes. And it was the best decision I made, eventually. Now, it wasn't all rainbows and ponies to start.
Oh, that was for you!
First of all, I joined late because I was in rehearsal or performances for another show, so everyone else already knew each other. And then I came to my first rehearsal, and I walked in on Greg Lund and Joe Keith, right in the middle. Ooh, so it's gonna be turned on just thinking about it. Right in the middle of soul and inspiration. And as they finished the song, Joey, who I had heard from 2 people as sex on legs, turned to me and says, "Finally, I've been waiting to hear you sing." God, that's funny. Okay, so imagine this. This is like asking me to try and kick a field goal after 98 Gary Anderson, right? That I would try, okay? But this situation is more like asking me to throw a 70-yard touchdown pass after 96 Brett Favre in front of Mike Holmgren, no less. And we should all be impressed because I was only 10 years old in 98. How old were you in 98?
Old enough to know better.
That's not creepy at all. Then there was the joy of the theater in midwinter. Now, Jim definitely does his casting based on skill because there's no way he knew what any of us actually looked like until we turned the heat on. I think I was more bundled up than the little brother in A Christmas Story. I'm surprised that my tears didn't freeze backstage. Yeah, I cried once. I was young and insecure. I was unhappy with myself and with my life, and God, I was trying to sing fucking Ebb Tide. So I tried to keep it together as best as I could, but it was the cast of that show, out of all of the casts that I'd worked with, that I couldn't hide from. It was Elizabeth and Greg that encouraged me, and Philip and Bill that helped me laugh, and Joey that helped me in every part of my life. And the one thing that they all had in common, or the one person that they all had in common, was Jim. Every actor in that 14-person cast had a love for theater, for performing, for the stage, but the people in that show and in the many shows to follow here that have become my best friends and my family and my future husband, those are the ones with someone in common. Now, Jim is an amazing director and teacher. He knows how to get an actor's brain moving and thinking. He knows how to make you a stronger singer and performer, and he knows how to put up a hell of a show. But for those of us that are here today, Jim is and always will be something more. We've had our great moments and our disagreements, but he's never been anything less than honest with me. He's never been anything less than encouraging, and he's never, ever stopped believing in what I can achieve as an actor and a person. He's a mentor and a friend, he's family, and he always will be. So to Jim, I say thank you, congratulations, and applause, 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 applause.
Thank you, honey, that was great. I just wanted to extend a special thank you to you on behalf of all of us for deciding to do a speech instead of sing. I love her to death, but she was given the same musical ear as Helen Keller, so. Speaking of musical ears, look who's here. Mike Roy. Nobody's immune, my friend. Nobody's immune. This man is probably the most talented musician on the face of the earth. Not that I've ever met, on the face of the earth. Is there a musical instrument that you can't play? 5 of them, just 5. You see them count them on one hand. Grief. Now you directed or conducted a lot of the orchestras for a lot of the musicals that Jim did, right? You know what all great conductors have in common, don't you? They're all dead. We're not quite there yet, but you're working on it. Now, actually, I was a theater person, as you know, but the first college party that I went to at UWRF was hosted by a music major, and you were actually his advisor. I want to say his name was David, but I honestly can't remember. I did go. I showed up, and he and 3 of his buddies were standing on the front stoop there, leaning against the house, smoking cigars. And I asked him what they were smoking, and he said, well, it's a J. Michael Roy. I said, what the hell's a J. Michael Roy? This was a piece of shit with a band around it.
Come on, that's my best one!
Watch your mouth!
I love you, Mike. I just Woo! Get back to Jim now. Though Jim has many sides to him, the one of the biggest hats that he's ever worn with most of us is the hat of director. And under that direction is where we learn some of the most intimate workings of Jim's personality. Those of us who Jim has impacted in life during these rehearsals over the course of the years would probably follow him anywhere. Mostly out of morbid curiosity. You know. Anyone who's ever been directed by Jim knows that he gets carried away sometimes. The only problem is it's never that far away. He's got an answer for everything. Josh, will you know the answer to this? It's the wrong one. He's even got a photographic memory. Unfortunately, most of the time, there's no film in it. Or a battery. Or a memory card. Or a camera, for that matter. Exhausted that joke. But here's probably my best. Of all the directors I've worked with, when explaining character motivation, Jim can out-talk an echo. And that ain't easy to do. What do you think about it? Clearly you don't get the joke, because it's funnier than that. Anyway. It's always fun when first-time actors to the SCOB stage show up here. You just know that Jim's going to rub one of them the wrong way. You're not sure which one, but you're taking bets on it from the very first meeting. Sometimes his reputation even precedes himself, and somebody has heard that he does this or says that, or this is the way he is. But I always try to tell them up front that he's not as bad as you think. He's actually much worse. But you have to admit that he grows on you. Kind of like a tumor. Or fungus. It does take a special kind of person to be able to work with Jim, though. Some actors absolutely can't do it. You know, they can't hack it at all. There's no middle ground with Jim. You either hate him, or you detest him. I guess maybe there is a middle ground there, I'm not sure. There have been even a few who have walked out of this very theater right now saying that they will never have worked with him again because he suffers from insanity. But every single person who's had any experience at all with Jim knows that that's not true at all. He actually enjoys it. There's no suffering there whatsoever. Especially recently, he's knowing that he's retiring. He's been doing a lot of soul searching, and so far hasn't found one. But it was definitely time for him to retire. Because he's recently gotten a very low opinion of some of the other faculty, especially in the theater department at UWRF. Just leave it sit there, or should I keep going? And now he considers them equals. Jim told me once that he was somewhat worried that nobody will remember him once he retires. But I can think of several reasons that he'll be remembered. You won't like a single one of them, but there are several reasons that he'll be remembered. And speaking of being remembered, our next presenter is absolutely impossible to forget. You may not see her over top of the podium, but I promise you that you won't be able to forget her. I was going to write a joke about you being an alcoholic, Brittany, but I didn't want to lower the bar. Brittany, is it sexual harassment if you tell me my hair smells good?
No.
That one did not go over well.
That was your short. Oh.
That was worth going back to. We're going to move on. If you've ever wondered what happens to the reject puppets that Jeff Dunham rejects, please welcome our next presenter. Say hello to my little friend, Miss Brittany Overstad.
You're fixing that.
I don't.
Hello? I didn't get the memo. This was supposed to be 3 to 5 minutes long, so I've only got 1 page instead of like 4. You're welcome. You know, the thing I've heard about a really good speech is it has a really great beginning, it has a really awesome end, and they're really close together. So hopefully I've got that one. I've learned a lot of really great things from Jim throughout the years. I've learned the really technical terms of theater, especially when it comes to blocking.
Ooh.
Thanks, Iris. I know I can rely on you. The really technical terms, especially blocking. One of Jim's favorite blocking terms, ooching. What does that even mean? Ooch a little bit to the left. No, your other left. I'm an actor, come on. And Jim had a really unique way of telling you what he wants from you. One of my favorites is, you know what the sign of an intelligent person is? They make a lot of mistakes, but they never make the same mistake twice. Now show me that you're an intelligent person. Pickups weren't quite there. There were 2 things that Jim would do. He'd either be in the back of the theater going, come on, let's go.
That's spectacular.
And then you get the throwing the hands up in the air and walking out.
I didn't have to duck for that.
Yes. Or his other saying that, I'm just going to say, this pause was brought to you by the Marcel Marceau School of Acting. I didn't have the opportunity to take theater history from Jim, so I actually had to Google that. Marcel Marceau was a mime. That's why it's funny. And I have a list of just a few other Jim-isms, or Jim wisdom, however you'd like to look at it. And I don't have the planning that the rest of them do, so I'm just kind of going to read through them. If anyone has any backstories, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, I'll just get them on.
We got a new stage manager, Iris. It's Eric.
When we're running things, one of his favorite is, one more time to make sure that wasn't an accident. Or one that actually happened in this last show, find your light, and then the actor ooches a little bit to find their light, and then Jim goes, are you in your light? Or when he's especially frustrated with you when you haven't been showing him that you're an intelligent person. It's muscle memory, folks. But Jim, the one truth that we have all learned from you that I'm sure will stick with us is that in theater, The opposite of success is not failure. It's public embarrassment. So I hope I have not embarrassed myself, and Jim, I hope that you do not embarrass yourself as you travel this new route of retirement. Everyone raise your glasses.
Here.
I'm empty.
Go, get it. Here, we brought
To
yours.
Jim Zimmerman.
I get mine.
Did you?
And so can you. That concludes halfway through Act 1. Hang on, we're almost at a break. Just relax. Nice job, Brandon. Now, Jim and Jill have never had any kids of their own. Well, not any human kids, anyway. But they are dog lovers. They've had some pretty wonderful dog children over the course of their lives. I remember Hoover in particular, my first summer at St. Croix Valley Summer Theater, watching this dog run and dive off the diving board to get a tennis ball, who would then catch the ball, swim over to the side of the pool, and climb out the ladder like a human being. It was the most fascinating thing. I thought you guys were geniuses. And I went through so many dogs trying to do that same thing. The same result. Now, I'm a dog person for sure, but I never quite had the same passion for them that Jim and Jill did. And I tried to figure it out while I was sitting down writing for this thing. I thought, I wanted to make some clever connection between dogs and children, and then it hit me. I've been looking it in the face for the last 20 years. Jim, you have the face of a saint, Bernard. So there it is. Poor things. When Jim's dogs have to fantasize when they're humping his leg. About another leg. Well, I'm not saying he's ugly, but his mother did have to put pork chop around his neck so his own childhood dog would play with him. But you're a good sport, Jim. I know you can take these things in stride. You always turn the other cheek, which is unfortunate for us, because the other one's even uglier than that. Speaking of ugly, Jason Deshane's here tonight. Sorry, you just caught my eye there. Thanks for coming, buddy. You know, that reminds me, you know how they can't ask on an application for work or employment anymore if you're a convicted felon? Jason Deshane is the same reason they can't act at an acting audition if you or any of your family members have a case of Alzheimer's. It's tough to be an actor, isn't it, Jason? Especially when you can't remember your lines. Or blocking. Or songs. Or anything. Aren't you glad you came? I'm kidding. Even though Jim and Jill haven't had biological kids of their own, they definitely have been paternal figures to a lot of us. Many of us in this very room. And there's a lot of talent in this room, and especially with a lot of the folks that you guys help mentor. And at this time, I'd like to open up the stage to Jim's kids. I know that we've got 7 or 8 acts who want to come up and either perform or do some sort of speaking or something. And even if you haven't decided until some point over the course of the night, we welcome you to come up to the stage, whether or not you were a child or a student of Jim's or not. But before we do that, let's take 5. Stretch our legs, refresh our beverages, and